Well, every single week that Oregon comes out to play, their depth on both sides of the ball just continues to be on full display. Here we go.
You are Locked On Ducks, your daily podcast on the Oregon Ducks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, it is that time once again for Locked On Ducks. I'm your host, Spencer McLaughlin. Thank you so much for making this your first listen or your first view of the day. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, and your number one source to stay up to date with the Ducks. So if you have not already, like, comment, subscribe, rate, review, please, and thank you wherever you listen to or watch the show, which today is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code Locked On College for $20 off your first purchase. Shout out Oregon men's basketball, by the way. Dana Altman can beat Georgia. Dan Lanning has a team that looks like they can certainly play a lot closer than 49-3 with this version of the Georgia Bulldogs, and Oregon is very, very good. But Dana Altman's team, 1-0, 82-71 over to Georgia in Las Vegas. Liked seeing that. A lot of good things over there. But let's talk football here, because every week on a Tuesday, as I'm about to do, I come on this show, and I, after having processed the entire game and watched back as much as I can and thought about it and all this sort of stuff and interacted with some of you, I go through my individual standouts. Not the obvious ones, right? The Bo Nixes, the Tez Johnsons, the Troy Franklins of the world. The guys who had good games, but also were kind of flying under the radar as they did it and made a big impact on Saturday. And I want to start with Steve Stephens. Steve Stephens is a guy who, I will be completely frank and honest here. That's what I always try to be, honest. I didn't think he was going to have a big role in this Oregon defense. I was wrong, 100%. I thought with Tysheem Johnson and Evan Williams coming in, he was someone who was going to get kind of forced out of the room from a playing time standpoint. But that hasn't been the case. We don't know what's going on with Brian Addison, but regardless, he's been away from the team for personal reasons. Dan Lanning last said, I don't remember if he was back, but Steve Stephens has played well. Steve Stephens is making an impact. And that was one of my biggest gripes with the safety room last year, was not just, they're giving up some big plays here and there, but there aren't that many impact plays. The safeties are making impact plays. Evan Williams gets sacks. Evan Williams hits people. Steve Stephens with a pick. Tysheem Johnson, 2 picks the prior week against Utah. This unit is vastly improved. And the defense is improved for a couple of reasons. Number one, you have new players in there that are making an impact over the players who they were brought in to replace from a season ago. The second thing, and arguably the more important one, is players from last year's team are playing better than they did. Sam Taimani is a better player. Casey Rogers is about the same, which is good. Dorless, I think, has taken a step up. I'll touch on him in just a moment. Steve Stephens, a better version of himself. Jalil Florence, year 1, year 2, big-time growth. You could just keep going. Jeffrey Bassa, my man Jeffrey Bassa. I stayed on the Jeffrey Bassa fan or in the fan club, shall we say, for Jeffrey Bassa. Always believed in that guy's potential. He looks awesome. He doesn't look good. He looks awesome. I'll get to him in a moment. But Steve Stephens, my first individual standout here, has the interception, is just kind of in the right spots, making plays, not getting beat in coverage, has had some pass breakups, had some nice tackling moments. He's an individual standout for me. Let's get to Jeffrey Bassa before I get to Brandon Dorless, because Bassa's everywhere. He forced an incompletion on third down. He forced the interception last week. He's not getting bowled over in the running game. I mean, this is a guy who came in as a safety, a 4-star safety recruit in the class of 2021 when Mario Cristobal was here. He stuck it out with the Ducks, saw what Lanning was bringing to the table, and said, I think this guy's going to be good for me. Well, he has been. And Tosh Lupoy and Chris Hampton and everybody else, they've all been really good for Jeffrey Bassa because he has changed his body while maintaining his speed. And he is just an effective football player. I saw in another one of those just masterful cinematic recaps from Scott Anderson that Jeffrey Bassa was sent on the blitz and the coaches were talking about it on the headset as it was happening. They called it and they said, go get him, Jeff. Go get him, Jeff. And it was something they had talked about in team meetings earlier that week. I love those things. They're behind the scenes access for us as fans, and I think it's excellent. So He times up that blitz perfectly, gets the defense off the field. He wasn't making those sorts of plays last year, but he's been making them week after week. He's great stopping the run. He's a sure tackler. I continue to like what I'm seeing from Jeff Bossa. And then Brandon Dorlus. Brandon Dorlus, he was Oregon's best defensive lineman last year. DJ Johnson led the team in sacks, but we all knew, Brandon Dorlus is the best defensive lineman. He continues to look like that. He's so disruptive. He's going to play in the NFL and I think do very well. This is a guy who, again, has had a developmental career at Oregon across multiple coaching staffs. And he is thriving with Lanning and Lupoy there. He is a bona fide beast. He takes double teams. He can split them. He moves people around, doesn't get moved off the line of scrimmage much, pressures the quarterback, makes plays in the run game. Dude's everywhere. Casey Rogers deserves a small shout out here. Forced the fumble that Sam Taimani almost brought to fruition for Tosh Lupoy, which he talked about on either Thursday or Friday whenever they got that B-roll for the video. He said, we're going to scoop and score. And then Casey Rogers knocks the ball out and Sam Taimani, that close to the scoop and score. So I love what I'm seeing there. How about the two freshman running backs? When they got into the game, those guys look ready. I mean, right now, they look ready. I am not on here clamoring for them to get more touches. I think the Bucky Irving, Jordan James 1-2 punch, this might be a hot take. So prepare yourself. I'll douse myself with a little bit of ice water I've got next to me here afterwards because it'll be so scorching hot. I think Bucky Irving and Jordan James are a ridiculously good running back tandem. Whoa! I know. I don't know what those guys are doing next year. Well, Jordan James is a true sophomore, so he's likely back. And if Whittington and Irving both go to the NFL, which Bucky probably will, Whittington will see. I feel pretty good about Oregon's running back room. I mean, Jaden Lamar physically, Dante Dowdell physically, these guys look ready. These guys look ready. And if, God forbid, Jordan James or Bucky Irving were to go down with an injury, man, I like what I see from those two guys. Every time they've touched the football this year, I go, yeah, they look good. They look good. They look physical. They're just Carlos Lachlan. I mean, that guy is a machine. Lachlan is an absolute machine. Or as the kids say, a wagon. Carlos Lachlan, as a running backs coach, is a wagon. 100%. And finally, I love shouting out these sorts of guys because they're not going to get a whole bunch of love. I notice. I pay way too much attention to detail. I look at these tiny moments and go, that's a big moment in the game. Ross James' 64-yard punt, which the coaches were loving on the headset. How could you not? When you pin an opponent inside their own 10-yard line, they score about 7% of the time. You compare that to when they get a touchback out to the 20 or 25, it's more than double the percentage that they could score or that they're likely to score. There's a less than 10% chance of allowing a touchdown drive of over 90 yards. It happens. It does not statistically in the game of football happen very often. And for him in that moment, after Oregon allowed a touchdown out of the break, out of halftime, Cal went down the field, put together a good drive. Jade Knott ran it in because Jade Knott's a really good football player. The Oregon offense stalled, and Ross James, and this is something that the Ducks didn't have last year, put the defense in an advantageous position to get off the field, get the ball back, pick up some hidden yards, and go down and score a touchdown and blow the game open. Great sequence there. I have full faith and confidence in Ross James. Do I feel great about Camden Lewis? Nope, I don't right now. I hope that changes. But right now, hard to feel confident in the Ducks kicking game. But the punting game, chef's kiss. Absolute chef's kiss. Let me know in the comment section below, which were, popping off yesterday when I was looking at them. Goodness gracious, which I love. Absolutely love it. Love the engagement. Glad you all enjoy the show. Let me know in the YouTube comments if you think there's anybody I missed that needed an individual shout out, and we'll get that on Wednesday's show. Alex Grinch is out as USC's defensive coordinator. How do we feel about that? It's not a comparable feeling to what you get at FanDuel, which is a place where you can score in the NFL or college football and it's America's #1 sportsbook as well. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. So if you were new to FanDuel last week and you bet $5 on Oregon just to win the football game, you get 150 in bonus bets from FanDuel, just like that. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action. The app is super easy to use, wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and kick off the NFL season. They've got Oregon as a 16.5-point favorite right now over USC. Nice. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. Okay, so number of people asked me about this, so I wanted to get to it on today's show. I got a bunch of mailbag questions to get to this week. If I don't get to yours today, I promise I'm getting to it tomorrow or Thursday at the latest. We got a lot to get to, though, so let's do it. This from Nathaniel. How concerned are we that the Trojans play better on D this week after Grinch got fired? By the way, if you want to be in the mailbag and you haven't before, it's really easy. YouTube comments or Twitter at Smalls_55 or at Locked On Ducks. If you want to be a Locked On Ducks insider, get even more thoughts from myself, breaking news, reactions, and analysis and whatnot to everything happening with Oregon sports, including Oregon basketball yesterday. Go join the Locked On Ducks SUBTEXT community at subtext.com/LockedOnDucks or click on the link in the description below wherever you're listening to or watching this show. So how concerned are we that the Trojans D plays better without Alex Grinch? I'll be honest, it doesn't change the calculus for me. I think there's only upside for USC's defense. I don't think it can be worse. I think it can improve. They have more talent than what they have put together on the field this year. Like they have some NFL players. Okay, Bear Alexander, that's a dude. Once upon a time, a target for Oregon in the transfer portal. Turns out our defensive front is loaded, and I feel pretty good even without him. If he'd come to the Ducks this offseason, yes, somebody would have been getting bumped down the depth chart. That guy's a beast. Okay, Anthony Lucas, I don't think he's been that great, but Kalen Bullock, the safety/linebacker Eric Gentry, Mason Cobb, the Oklahoma State transfer, these guys are good football players. They are good football players. However, they have not been coached very well because they've been coached by Alex Grinch. So with him not there is an element. We saw this in the NFL with the Raiders last week. Fire the staff or fire somebody, and then everybody kind of rallies. There could be an element of that. But the coaching that Alex Grinch has given these guys and the way they play and who their head coach is, Lincoln Riley, who does not care one bit about defense, that's still there. And I still expect Oregon to have a really good day offensively at Autzen Stadium this week. So I don't think there's a whole lot of downside to this move because I literally don't think USC's defense could play any worse given their talent level. I do not see how that's possible. They are so bad. They are so bad. But does it concern me? No, it does not concern me. I think they're capable of playing better than they were before because he's not calling the plays. I don't think they're suddenly going to become a top 30 defensive unit in college football and hold Oregon to 24 points. Don't see that coming to fruition. This from Little Ray 7003. We tend to have issues with quarterbacks that can scramble. Caleb Williams is the ultimate scrambling quarterback. Do you think our defense can contain him? Well, first of all, literally everybody struggles with quarterbacks that can scramble. It's really tough to play a great game against a scrambling mobile quarterback. You know what? One of the reasons Bo Nix doesn't get sacked a whole heck of a lot because he moves really well. And his movement in the pocket is elite. And his awareness of what the defense is doing is elite. And so when the pressure does come, he knows exactly where to slide, where to run, where to move, and then where he can go with the football. And when he gets blitzed, he knows how to get the football out quickly. Now, that's not something Caleb Williams has done really well this year from what I have seen. He does, however, scramble at a high level. Oregon is capable of containing him. It'll come down to the front four rushing with tremendous discipline. Okay? Lots of discipline required here from the front four and whoever else is blitzing for the Ducks. If you are Jordan Birch or Mateo Uyunglele or Tatum Tuioti or Blake Purchase or Jake Shipley, Amarian Winston, whoever else is playing at that edge position, if you make an inside pass rush move and you do not have a linebacker blitzing to fill that hole coming around, Caleb Williams is going to beat you for a big play, full stop. And I don't have to tell Oregon that. The coaches certainly know that. But what you have to do with Caleb Williams is get him to bring his eyes down. The way you do that is you win your one-on-ones and rush with tremendous discipline. That's what it's going to take. It's a challenge. And he's going to make some big-time plays. He's going to make big-time throws. USC is going to score points. Let's all be prepared for that. The key is limiting him, forcing him into turnovers where he's trying to do too much, and keeping him in the pocket. If he gets outside the pocket, game over. Not like game over, Oregon loses, but game over the defense. There's nothing you can do when he's outside the pocket. He's elusive. He's fast, dynamic, big arm, throws the ball down the field. He is really, really dangerous. So yes, they can contain him. It is going to be hard. If you keep him under 300 yards passing, you're doing really, really well. Another question here. This from SC_RC1478. Like RC Cola? I don't know. Let's say Michigan and Florida State wins out. Alabama is a one-loss champion, and Oregon is a one-loss Pac-12 champion. We know how the media views the SEC and Georgia as a whole. So how likely would a one-loss Georgia, not a conference champion, get the nod over Oregon? This is an interesting question, to say the least. As a Pac-12 fan, a conference that has not made the college football playoff since 2016, it is more than fair for us to be wary of the committee's willingness to choose a Pac-12 team over the SEC. Now, the committee does also have standards, and they have shown some trends in the past that I think make this okay for Oregon. I cannot guarantee it, though. What makes this okay for Oregon, hypothetically, in the situation you're looking at here, Michigan, Florida State went out. Alabama, one-loss SEC champion, beating Georgia. Georgia would then be what TCU was a season ago, barring a regular season loss, which is not going to happen. They'd be a 12-1 non-Power 5 champion. And in the calculations for the college football playoff, being a Power 5 conference champion has always mattered. And that is going to carry weight for the Ducks. Should it carry enough? Yes. Should it carry enough no matter what? Yes. Should it carry enough over this Georgia resume specifically? Yes. Let me pull up Georgia's schedule here. I'll give you a hint before I get to it real quick. It's not very good. They do not have a strong schedule. And if they are unable to win the SEC championship, they do play Ole Miss this week. That's a number 10 team in the country. They beat 12th ranked Missouri last week. They have a win over then 20th ranked Kentucky. It's a good resume. I don't think it is a great one. Now, they have Ole Miss and Tennessee the next couple of weeks. Those are currently teams. Ole Miss is number 10. Tennessee is number 17. Here's their schedule up to this point, though. UT Martin, Ball State, South Carolina, who sucks, UAB, at Auburn, who's not very good, Kentucky, who they housed. That's a good win. Vanderbilt, it's Vanderbilt. Florida, yeah, they're okay. They're fine, whatever. And then Missouri, Ole Miss, Tennessee. It'd be close. It'd be close, but the conference championship factor, I think, gets Oregon or a one-loss Washington team into the playoff. I really do. I don't say that with 100% confidence because Oregon's non-conference Power 5 win is Texas Tech, who's fighting to make a bowl game this year. They did lose their quarterback, Tyler Shuck, which sucks. Washington's non-conference Power 5 win is Michigan State. Rebuild, they're looking for a new coach. Complete and utter mess. Could that be held against them with the SEC bias that we know exists in college football? Maybe. I cannot rule that out. I can't get it out of my head. I talked on Locked On Pac-12 yesterday about the Alabama problem, and this would be the problem. This would be the problem. You do not want, if you are Oregon or any Pac-12 team, the Washington's the only other one that can make it right now, of course, you do not want to be in a world where there are two one-loss, 12-win SEC teams whose names are Alabama and Georgia. That's a problem. So as Oregon fans, we should be rooting for Bama to lose a game, Texas losing a game. And again, I say with 65 to 70% confidence, one loss, Pac-12 champion into the college football playoff, no matter what, because help is likely going to be given somewhere along the line. I would prefer, though, that percentage of confidence be at 100%. You can only do that if Texas and Alabama fade back. But that's the other complicating factor. Texas beat Alabama head-to-head. If the Longhorns win the Big 12 and only have one loss, they could get into the playoff. Now, their resume wouldn't be as strong as Oregon's, even with the win at Alabama, because Oregon would have a win against Washington and a win against Utah and a win against Oregon State. And Texas cannot match that resume because the Big 12 stinks. So anyway, yeah, good question. Good question. Fun to be talking about this sort of stuff. Well, wait, it's going to be an exciting 3 weeks. I mean, a riveting 3 weeks. But to directly answer your question, I think there's a 30% chance that a one-loss non-SEC champion Georgia would get a nod over a one-loss Pac-12 champion Oregon. I'm probably being too pessimistic on that as well, because conference championships, they have always mattered to the committee. They will always matter, and they should always matter because that's what makes them really, really fun. We still have more mailbag to get to right here on the show. There are more games for Oregon to play. If you want to go to any of them this year, Game Time is the way to go. You shouldn't have to worry when buying tickets to your next big event. Game Time is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, and theater events near you. With killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their best price guarantee, Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. Game Time is the only ticketing app that gives you complete peace of mind with your purchase, and they're obsessed with finding ways to help you save money on tickets. They have deals right up to the start of the event, even an hour after it starts. It's the place Game Time is to find last-minute seats. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. That's Locked On College. Download Game Time today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Big breath, just kind of collecting my thoughts, catching my breath a little bit. Long volleyball broadcast earlier tonight. Come on here, record the show. That's the life I chose. I love it. Appreciate all of you. Let's roll through the mailbag here. This from John. Hey, Spencer, not that I think it'll happen, but what if Washington somehow loses 2 of their next 3 games? Yeah, that's not going to happen. And doesn't make it to the Pac-12 championship. Where does that put Oregon if they win the conference in relation to Texas and Alabama if they win out? It'd be a problem. I don't know if it'd be a crushing problem. If it'd be a problem. Oregon wants to play Washington in the Pac-12 championship game. Full stop. Not just for the revenge factor to get them back for the last 2 matchups, but because it is the best thing that can happen for Oregon, or else they'd go the whole season without a top 10 win. And Texas or Alabama going to have top 10 wins, at least one. So yeah, you want to play Washington. As difficult as that can be. And look, I think there are a lot of Duck fans that want to play Washington again and feel like the Ducks would beat Washington if they played on a neutral field right now. I feel that way. Still has to happen. Still has to get done. Let's keep our attention on USC for now and just kind of keep these conversations in the back of our minds rather than the front of them. But I do think that it's something to be aware of. Washington's not losing 2 of their next 3 games, though, so it's not a problem. Like, between Utah and Oregon State, they could lose 1. They will not lose 2. They will not lose 2, and they will not lose to Washington State. So, yeah, I think that puts a bow on that one. So, this one, again, from Little Ray 7003. Did he ask a question earlier? Yeah, he did. Spence is a lifelong Duck fan. I know too well the pain of a last game loss when we're just about to make the playoff. Yep. So I'm going to ask some fun questions while we just wait and see if we actually win out this time. If you could make whatever Oregon uniform combo you wanted to, and they said it was designed by you, what are you going with? It's a great question. And I have another uniform question I'm gonna get to in just a moment, just to give it a little bit of a lighter mood at the end of today's show. I'm not a design person. I'm not an artsy person. I can't draw. My handwriting sucks. I don't paint. I don't sing. Um, you know, the artsiest thing I do, I could act. I could act. I took some acting classes in high school and college, so I learned a little. But I mean, I'm just not in the artsy sort of world. Like, I don't know if this counts as being artsy and creative. I don't think it does. I mean, the official title, I guess, would be content creator, but like, it feels weird. So, if I had to design a uniform, though, I don't know every single detail, but my base concept would be what I've long said is one of my favorite all-time looks for the Ducks, and that is the all-white stormtrooper. I think we do that look as well as anybody in the country. I think wings on the jerseys are slick as can be, and that's where I would start, and then I would get someone who actually knows art or uniform design and say, how can we make this even better? How can we spruce it up a little bit? I love going white head to toe. We haven't seen white helmets from the Ducks. They've kind of gotten away from those, but they've had some other good ones. So I'll wrap up with this. This from actually, I'll come back to the uniform question. I'll do another one. This one from Ethan. Is it just me, or do we not use Trayshawn Holden enough? I think he has to have a breakout game coming. So this is an interesting question because Trayshawn Holden is a guy that came over from Alabama and was more of a downfield threat while he was with the Crimson Tide, has not been that with the Ducks. He has embraced his new role, which is kind of gadget guy, screen passes, and quick hitters. And he's good at it. He's a great run after the catch player. He's big and physical, but has speed. I like him a lot. I think when you look at Oregon's offense right now, they don't need him to be that sort of guy, and he's clearly comfortable in that role. I think everyone is being used. It's hard to criticize anything Oregon's doing offensively right now. They can run the football. They can use a quick passing game. Bo Nix is accurate. They can throw the ball down the field. They hit explosive plays. Like, everything is there. And I think for Trayshawn Holden, would he maybe slide over to the X position if Troy Franklin had to go out for a few plays? Maybe. But I think that when you look at what he's done this year, he's been so good, and he's a great blocker. He's a great blocker. I don't know what his blocking grade is. I want to look that up on PFF right now, because I think that when Oregon has had success in the screen game this year, Trayshawn Holden has often been at the center, kind of what they're doing there, throwing a key block, and he's just a big physical guy. Like, he's almost a tight end. His run block grade is only 55, which seems really low to me. By the way, Tez Johnson and Troy Franklin both inside the top 40 nationally, which is pretty cool on PFF, because they're both really, really good. But no, I don't think we're underusing Trayshawn Holden. He can have a little more potential, sure. But do I look at the offense and go, oh, man, we need to be doing this, that? No, it's not like we don't have the vertical dimension, because Tez Johnson and Troy Franklin and, Terrence Ferguson as well down the field on some of those deep corner routes, they make plenty of explosive plays. Okay, last thing here, back to the uniforms. This from Tots5955. Mailbag question. Can you rank your top 3 uniforms Oregon has worn so far this year? Indeed, I can. You'll notice a theme. I do like this concept that we haven't seen a lot in past years, but we've seen it twice this year, and I'm a fan. Coming in at number 3 is the black, white, and green jersey, and then black, as in black helmet, white and green jersey, black pants, that we wore at Utah. That's number 3. I'm a fan of that look. At number 2, the uniforms against Colorado. Black helmet, black pants, green and yellow jersey. I think when Oregon uses black, it looks really good. I remember, what game was it? Arizona 2010. Those were either all black uniforms. They might have had a silver helmet. I thought those looked great. I was a big, big fan of those. So I have those at number 2, the Colorado ones. And then number 1, come on. Does anyone think the throwbacks aren't number 1? We should do throwbacks every single year. Appreciate everyone listening. I'll see you next time. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and go Ducks.